This is the Quantum Quadcast, right here on 88.7 KIGC The Kitchen, and we're doing our movie review over Maggie, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. I am your host, Kurt Sodak. That's right, we finally gave John the boot he deserved. Just kidding, he couldn't make it tonight. But fortunately for us, we have an Arnold enthusiast next to me and former member of the Quantum Quadcast.
Shucks. Alum, Jordan Fash, and I am said Arnold enthusiast, but not nearly as big, I believe, as the man in the control room.
Controlling everything, as always, is
NickGuyHarris. And good, I'm glad Jordan jumped on that. I'm also a big fan of Arnold, so looking forward to this one to get into it. So should we just jump right into it, guys?
Yeah, as always, the Quantum Quadcast. We're here to talk to everything nerdy when it comes to films. And so, Nick, take it away.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about Maggie. I do have a brief description on it here. As of the IMDb page, it's described as follows. A teenage girl in the Midwest becomes infected by an outbreak of a disease that slowly turns the infected into cannibalistic zombies. During her transformation, her loving father stays by her side. So that seems like a fitting description of what happens in the movie, but let's jump right into it and kind of get go around the room here and talk about a little bit some of our reactions to the film and kind of what we thought and just kind of how your experience watching it went. So, Jordan, would you like to lead us off on this?
For sure, yeah. I mean, I'd heard about it. I heard about the Schwarzenegger movie, zombie drama. So I'm always curious to see, when actors do other stuff, especially if it's, Schwarzenegger. I mean, he's the man.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I hadn't heard too much. I watched a trailer, like a week or two ago, and then Red Botched it to check it out. So I didn't really know a whole lot of what to expect going in, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was a pretty cool take on just kind of the whole zombie genre. Everybody's jumping on that these days. So I enjoyed it all around, but, we can get more into specifics, I guess, as we go along.
Okay, so did it meet your expectations as an Arnold movie and everything? You had a good time?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I would,
Okay.
Good. Not my favorite movie of all time, but I give it the seal of approval, I suppose.
Kurt, what were your feelings on it?
Well, this is a very interesting one for me because, as you know, I am a big zombie genre guy, and finally we get a film where we can talk about on the show, So this is really awesome for me, and of course it works out perfect because you're a big Arnold fan as well. I enjoyed it. It's definitely different from. And I'll go on to different from what I call zombies are reinventing themselves. The film genre is reinventing themselves. Mm-hmm. And I'll go on that a little bit later, and this is kind of a part of that movement as well. And I really liked where it was going, so we'll kind of talk about that later on the show. But yeah, thumbs up. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we introduced you properly either, Kurt, as our kind of resident zombie expert.
Well, I always kind of... people probably by now I've dropped a few hints here and there. Some of our top threes. I think people know that I'm a big
He's always trying
guy.
to work zombies into every single review.
Well,
really
I think this is the first time we've actually had a legitimate zombie movie for you to.
That's true.
So that's why I was interested to get you on here. So
we
will be falling back on you for some of our zombie specifics. I think here tonight.
I think I can handle.
Awesome. So. I guess that leaves my opinion, and I think I was left a little bit wanting with this one. I was really excited. There's a lot of things, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things I like about this movie, mostly centering around Arnold being in it. But I found the plot itself a little bit boring, I guess. And a little bit drab, I guess. Kurt and I had talked a little bit last week when we watched it about had this story ever been done before. And I've not played the game, but I've heard it's a lot like The Story of Us, I think is what the game is called.
The
Last of Us, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it's been done in video game form, but for me, I guess I came off a little bit underwhelmed. I think there was some good shots, and we can get into the performances in a bit. But I was hoping for a little bit more out of it, I think, and maybe that's just my preconceived notions coming into the film and my expectations to see Schwarzenegger fight some zombies. It's just not that kind of film, so a little underwhelmed. But overall, I can't say that I didn't enjoy the 2 hours watching it. So, but let's jump into some specifics here. And and maybe talk a little bit about. Let's start before we start nerding out too much on Schwarzenegger. Let's talk a little bit about Kurt. Can you talk about the zombie elements in the film, maybe, and give us a little bit of feedback on what you thought of this film as a zombie film?
Yeah, most definitely. The thing that I was kind of surprised with is that it actually showed quite a few zombies other than just the daughter. While she was becoming the transformation. So I kind of did enjoy that. For when I first saw the trailers, I was thinking, okay, so it mainly looks like it centers around this. We're not going to see like other infected, but we did. And we even saw some flashbacks and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that element of it. And being, if I'm not wrong, I think it was fairly low budget.
Yes, it was about a $5 million movie.
Okay. I mean, the effects on the zombies for me, wasn't that bad at all. I enjoyed it. I thought they did a good job there, and that's saying a lot with some of the zombies that I have seen.
Do you feel like it brought something that you hadn't seen in the zombie genre before? I guess I haven't watched a lot of just maybe a couple of the Romero films and stuff like that, and a few of the recent remakes, but I am not by any means an expert, so I don't know if this has been done before. I feel like we've seen somebody, I mean, especially on The Walking Dead, we've seen a family member be turned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, I think, was it a mother in the show? I guess I'm not.
Spoiler alert, Nick. Come on.
Well, I'm not saying what season or what character.
Everyone's going to think all the moms are zombies now.
Well, in first season there was
Walking Dead spin-off.
I'll say a family member that was turned.
So, well,
yes.
it felt a little bit, I guess maybe cliche in parts because it seemed like they weren't treading on new ground here.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
for a film that didn't have a huge budget, it seems like they have to bring something to the story or to the drama that we just haven't seen before. They don't have the budget to wow us with special effects and stuff like that. So I feel like they should have had something else. I didn't feel like that was there. Do you think that at all, Kurt, or
for me,
Jordan can chime in on this too if he.
I'll jump in
Yeah,
there first.
Kurt, you
For
got-
me,
all right,
I
yeah.
feel like I said in the opening of the show, zombies are kind of reinventing themselves, like the genre is. At first it started before Romero, which is referred to on the internet by zombie geeks, BR.
Right.
So before
BR. Oh, I
1968,
get it.
before 1968, zombies were just rituals and voodoo stuff. It wasn't until 1968 with the Night of the Living Dead when it became an outbreak. It became like a whole mass hysteria and stuff like that. And then that's what you see today, up until today. Well, and then Robert Kirkman came in and kind of reinvented it with the comics. Like, okay, what happens after the zombie movie? I mean, it usually just fades, cuts to black, and they're still in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So then what I mean by reinventing and what this film does, it kind of explores, except this one doesn't, a different element, life after the apocalypse, like the moral decisions and all that kind of stuff. And you kind of see this in this movie too, but you see it with a father and a daughter and how he reacts. At least, so to me, I think it did do something different. I mean, I can see where you're coming from. It took a little. This was more of a storyline to it than what The Walking Dead does at times. But for me, I think it's a part of the reinventing itself movement. Zombies are kind of reinventing themselves, the film industry, not zombies themselves. But for me, I think
they're conscious.
And I think that's what you have to do. I mean, because you can only play the same card so many times, before it gets, old and bad,
Well, I think that's kind of where I'm coming in on it as, like, I think we're kind of on the backslide of, like, a huge zombie upsurge in popular culture, you know what I mean? I think it's still going to go strong for a number of years. I just think that the initial craze of it has kind of worn off, and that we've seen enough different takes at this point where I feel like this movie needed to bring something a little more dynamic to it. I think for me, I probably wouldn't even have watched this film had it not had Arnold, because to me the most dynamic thing it does is introduce one of the biggest stars in the world from about 20 years ago as a dramatic actor. Somebody that I mean, we can get into why he's not really taken as a dramatic actor, but
and that's why I love this choice. That's what I loved about this. Is
I think
bringing in another fans into a zombie genre that normally wouldn't. Just like you said, you probably wouldn't have even seen it.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about that. I'm not a huge Arnold fan. I do enjoy him, but I think having him in there, bringing another element, another audience to our audience, if you will, is really cool. And that's what I really liked about this little independent film.
Yeah, I could kind of agree with that too. Jordan, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I guess for me, just in looking at, what it did different and all that kind of stuff, because you always see the zombie movie, right? It's like everything's chaos, everything's on fire, destroyed or whatever. So I thought it was kind of cool. Just, I mean, I've always thought realistically, if you have these slow-moving, shuffling creatures, it's always like in movies, it's the government's like, what are we gonna do? They're losing their minds, and it's like, well, we'd probably get it under control eventually. They even have lines in the movie where they're like, we've learned about this disease, we've studied it, all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of cool to see, I think probably more of a realistic take on I guess what a zombie outbreak would really look like.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that angle of it, but I did think that when watching it too, that was.
Yeah.
Is that something that was familiar to you at all?
I mean, Kurt's the zombie expert. I don't know if he's seen that
you've
before.
probably seen more of the movies
kick
than
it to
I have.
him. He's the expert.
I was
Honestly,
trying to think of it myself.
That was more of a different take because in the movie you can kind of see they have somewhat of a control of it.
Yeah,
and you're right.
It's like
there.
society is still. I mean, it's just like in any zombie movie. It's like as soon as there's zombies, society just collapses.
Boom.
Everything goes nuts. There's looters. Everyone's just killing each other. And it's like, whoa, what? Like,
that's always funny you bring that up because the slow moving creatures. It starts with just one. You're like, how does it spread so fast? That's the kind of ridiculous element zombies do get. And I'm with you on that.
But
Yeah, go
so,
ahead, Jordan.
I guess that's kind of what I thought was sort of interesting, just seeing how, I guess that it was kind of cool they did it too in like a Midwestern setting. I mean, I know in Walking Dead, they do Atlanta and kind of not in cities, but it was kind of cool to be like, oh, it's not, in New York or Los Angeles or some heavily populated thing. So I thought that kind of brought a unique element. And I guess what I really liked too was how the disease worked. So they say in the movie it's like 6 to 8 weeks is how long it takes for someone to turn. Whereas like in The Walking Dead or most things, someone gets bitten and they like in 5 seconds are like, trying to eat somebody. Which I'm like, well, real infections usually don't take over your body in 2 seconds and you turn into a zombie. So I thought it was kind of cool to be like, well, if this were a real disease, it probably wouldn't instantly turn you into a brain-eating
that's
monster.
a good point, and it gave it a chance to kind of explore a different angle of it too, and can be, I suppose, kind of a metaphor for just living with an ailing child, only told through a genre film.
So I mean, those were kind of the two elements that stuck out to me. That as I was watching, I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I haven't seen. Again, I'm not the zombie expert like Kurt, but I haven't really seen. I guess a lot of things played off in that sense.
No, you're right. There's
so,
not very many, not that I can recollect.
Let's jump into, I guess, the big part of this movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So,
Arnie.
Jordan, why don't you talk a little bit about how you felt he did in the film?
Okay, yeah. Well, as I've said, I love Arnold, so I'm always up for seeing him and whatever. So of course, he had me there. But I mean, I thought he did well. It wasn't like I was watching it and was like, I guess, totally blown away. But, there's still some of those moments where you hear him talking, and you're like, oh, Arnold, flashbacks to Jingle All the Way a little bit. But, I think that was like my biggest exposure as a kid was, the Terminator and Jingle All the Way. Those are two very different films for him.
Yeah, I agree a lot with what you're saying.
I had an idea. I thought it'd be great. I was just the whole time I was watching it, I was picturing switching Arnold in this movie with Arnold from other movies. Just what would that movie be like if we put in Kindergarten Cop Arnold, put in a Terminator Arnold?
It's not a zombie.
So I think, the Terminator's Arnold would have been a bit of a different movie, but so I figured Nick probably would have enjoyed that one.
Oh, Terminator versus zombies? Yes, please.
That's the next one they're making.
Yeah, that's right.
Kurt, before I jump into it, I agree with a lot of what Jordan said, but I wanted to hear your kind of take on it since you probably, I know for certain you haven't seen any Terminator movies.
Yeah.
So
the only Arnold I have seen is the Jingle All the Way.
All right.
Kurt, you're missing a whole genre.
One of his masterpieces.
So you guys are comparing the Terminator to Maggie, and I'm comparing Jingle All the Way to Maggie. I'm like, whoa. Honestly, I don't think he's bad. I enjoyed him in Predator.
Of course.
So, of course, I guess I get, yeah, exactly. I guess I'm not completely comparing it to just Jingle All the Way. If you ask me, I think in the Predator one and the zombie one, that would be really cool.
Yeah, there you
go. He's just shooting up everything.
How do you think he handled the dramatic scenes?
I liked it. I think he did a good job.
You think he did
in my opinion, it wasn't, for me, it wasn't like, oh, good. Lord, I didn't think he was bad. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't see like for me, it's not like when I was thinking about this, I was like, oh, geez, he's probably wanting something that really actiony, and you can see it in his face, you can see it in his everything. But I couldn't, it wasn't like he wasn't dying for the action.
In the beard.
He was good. Oh, I love the beard. Yeah, it was a great ad.
I did like the beard. That was a nice touch.
I agree. I think he.
I bought his character. I bought he was a charismatic father. I bought it, and that's what I was.
I think
really
for me, what Schwarzenegger is good at, his bread and butter is the stoic, kind of quiet man of action.
Yeah,
so he's definitely got that stoic side of it for this movie. He spends a lot of it just looking very
a lot of
depressed
facial reactions
and
yes.
just walking around.
Looking at things.
One of my problems with the movie is there's a lot of this movie is just him walking around doing stuff. There was like multiple times they cut back to what I assume is the exact same scene of him cutting wood. But at different days. But I'm like, they shot that all on the same day, right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of scenes like that. But I actually, as a Schwarzenegger fan, I guess I should set up, I think I said it on our Terminator podcast too, that I feel like Schwarzenegger is actually a pretty decent actor in his element. Like you had mentioned Predator, I think that's one of the best performances by him now.
For sure.
Now, in perspective, if you took Schwarzenegger and put him in the Al Pacino role in The Godfather, I don't think he'd be able to pull that off. But adversely, I don't think that Al Pacino would have been good in the lead in Predator. Maybe. That's arguable. But
yeah.
Come on,
so I think within his element, there is things that he does excel at. And, I mean, we're talking about a guy that was once the biggest movie star in the world. So, I mean, it's just weird. For me, this is the first time we've seen him in something this budget. So, I mean, that element aside, I think a lot of the problems with his acting, it seemed like anytime he started talking, I kind of lost a little bit, I think. The only scene I really actually liked was the one where they're eating dinner or something and he's pretending to eat and like it's really bad, because it's like this post-apocalyptic future and they can't get good food or something, and they were laughing. That was the only genuine scene I liked in the movie, but I don't really fault Abigail Breslin or Schwarzenegger for that. I think some of that might have been a poor script, I guess.
Yeah.
So in the end, I come away wanting to see Schwarzenegger do more stuff like this, do smaller projects, mix it up. His comeback as a huge action star has gone a little rocky, and we'll talk about that later in the show. But I think it was interesting and fun as an Arnold fan to see him kind of stretch and try to do something different. So I think people with probably not as much love as us for Arnold probably could have hated it. But
I agree with that assessment, and that's kind of what I thought. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like there's no one else who could have played this part. Like this is the Arnold Schwarzenegger role of the
he
century.
was born to play this.
Yeah, I mean, but
Agreed.
I still enjoyed it a lot, and I like you said, I like seeing Arnold in really whatever. So I mean, I think it's cool to just see him try different things. I'm always up for seeing actors do that. So in that sense, I enjoyed
I think
it.
the measurement for the temperature of the water here on the acting in this film for me was kind of Abigail Breslin, because I feel like there were scenes where I didn't quite buy her either. And
I agree.
She's an actress where I've seen her in other things too that I think she's at least a competent actor or actress, and I think since I saw her struggling, I don't know if she wasn't struggling with it, but I was having a hard time buying into some of her dialogue as well, so I started to think maybe this is a script issue.
Yeah, because I usually I've seen a few of her movies too, and she usually does a pretty good job, for being, younger, growing up as a kid actor and kind of stuff. But yeah, I agree with you. I wasn't totally sold on everything in that
made me start thinking that maybe this isn't just Arnold. Maybe it's also the fact that it's a $5 million movie. You can't usually don't get the best screenwriter in the world. And I did read the credits at the end, and the guy's got a 3 behind his name. So
he is the third.
This was the only thing he's ever written.
I looked it up too. Yeah, that's the only thing he's ever written. I know the director has done a few kind of like small pickup things, but this was, I think.
What'd you feel about the look of the film, Kurt? Any thoughts on cinematography or just how it was filmed and how it played out? And
well, to me, when I think of a low-budget zombie film, I'm thinking, oh boy, But for this is what it did right. And in fairness, it didn't have a lot of zombies, obviously, because that's when it starts getting money payroll starts to rise there. But
I suppose that's probably the reverse of what this film does. Maybe spends a little more time and money on the cinematography rather than the normal zombie movie would probably look terrible and pour all of its money into awesome creature effects.
It's just even then you would argue that it's not that good, but I think it did really well for what it had and from what I was expecting. I think it did just fine. I enjoyed it, and I thought the setting was really meek, and especially the beginning. You know, you kind of going through all that. I enjoyed that. It was really meek, and it's Midwestern, and that was a cool feel to it too. Obviously, we're Midwest, so we kind of get out. And
shout out to Midwest.
There you go.
See, I have a
lumberjack.
theory. Could this movie have taken place in Iowa? What do we think? My friend and I were talking. He had a theory. What do you think? Is it possible? Well, I don't know.
I think
because they didn't specify where it was. I don't believe.
I think it definitely could be, but I didn't see much corn. Was there corn in the movie?
There's fields.
Usually that's my indicator for that. One of my favorites is like the Star Trek reboot where they've got like it's all desert and then there's cornfields and it's like obviously the production designers had never been to Iowa ever. They just had heard there was corn there, but I didn't. Yeah, I think it was definitely could have been here or Nebraska or somewhere. And
I think for all intents and purposes, we should assume that it took place in Iowa.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Just makes me feel better. So,
look at him in his lumberjack stage right there in that picture.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen Arnold Schwarzenegger wear a flannel until I watched this movie. I never thought I'd see the day. I mean,
no, and I don't want to undercut him on his ability to just stand around and look like he put on flannels and look horribly depressed. I mean, you see it in his face right there. He wears that that face pretty much the entire movie.
Yeah, he does.
It's an old, worn look.
Yeah,
he
emotionally
had
drained.
that down, but I think as an entire piece, I wish they would have done a little more with him, or maybe it could just be we're seeing the max of what Schwarzenegger's range is, obviously, since he's kind of known as not being the greatest actor in the world. I mean, I argue that, but anyway. So let's talk about. Let me see here. What can we talk about that? What do you feel on the same line as the cinematography? Do you feel like the film relied too heavily on close-ups? Was one thing I noticed. The film is shot very extensively in like tight shots.
Yeah.
Anybody else notice that? Or
that's a good point. I didn't really think about it until you brought it up, but yeah, and that might be what we're going off of here. Is all the emotion is mainly showed off of the close-ups. You're right.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that element. You kind of just blindsided me with that.
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't super conscious of that, but I mean, again, there could be a few reasons, whether it be storytelling or even, I had noticed that a lot. Even when they would show zombies, they're really careful not to really, get like into super violent or even show the zombies in huge detail. It was kind of quick look. So,
I think some of that's probably just production value. It's easier. You don't have to set up. You don't have to put a set together if you're in a close-up. You don't have to worry about backgrounds in a close-up. But
it was
sometimes I thought that maybe they went a little too heavy on the close-ups or something. It started to look like a Stallone-directed film or something.
Too close.
He's known to overly use the close-up. But I don't know. Nobody else apparently noticed that as much as I did.
I don't know.
Not that it bugged me, but.
I was too busy on my Iowa and Arnold swapping theory to think about the close-ups, Nick. But that is a good point.
But, I think we're probably not going to do a super in-depth review on this one, but any other thoughts that you guys had on... I've got a couple more questions here we can go over, but I just wanted to open the field to any thoughts or things that you want to talk about in the movie. If it's spoilers, we should probably go to spoiler zone. But
spoiler zone. Yeah, I don't know. I mean...
But
here's something. Let's do. You guys do something for the Arnold fans, and if they would, because like you guys said, like Nick said, he didn't know if he would watch this if it wasn't Arnold in it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, what would you say to the fans that are just strictly Arnold fans who are on the fence about watching this or not? I guess we'll start with you, Jordan.
Yeah. I mean. I think it's cool. Yeah, I mean, as an Arnold fan, it's cool to see him kind of in a different role. I mean, I think when you hear Arnold Schwarzenegger zombie movie, of course, your first instinct is like, oh yeah, World War Z, some kind of crazy blowing stuff up. So, in that sense, it was kind of surprising because if I hadn't seen a trailer or anything, that's probably what I would have thought. If I heard that.
Right. Yeah. If somebody gave you that tagline, so I think I would say. That be wary if you're a Schwarzenegger fan. If you're a Schwarzenegger super fan, I like it regardless because I think in the last 6 to 8 years or so since he came back to acting, I don't know how long it's been, but probably more like 5. But I think we've gotten some really cool meaty roles for Schwarzenegger. Unfortunately, most of them have been in not very well-made films.
Yeah. That's. I have a little piece on that too, but we can. I mean, I don't know if that comes in later, but
I just wanted to say this is kind of one in a long line. I mean, Sabotage was his last starring role, and I thought it was a pretty rough film, but I really, really enjoyed the character he played. It was something I hadn't seen him do before. The new Terminator, I think, is a great kind of position for him. Falling in as kind of a side character, I think, is something that he should look more at as he ages. Is, you know, you don't have to star in every movie anymore. You know, it's the old Edward G. Robinson bit where he said famously, as he was aging, he was a big star in the 30s and 40s, and as he got older, he said, I can either choose to be the star in lesser and lesser films, or I can take co-starring roles in better films, you know, and he won an Oscar doing that. Not, I don't think Schwarzenegger's getting an Oscar, but I think this is a route that he could go if he wants to do more starring films. But like I said, I didn't think the writing was here, so to me, I think he needs to maybe focus towards co-starring roles. But back to the original question. Sorry, I rambled a bit there.
No,
but
it's a good tangent.
I think if you're an Arnold super fan, you'll probably find something to enjoy here. If you're the casual Arnold fan that likes action movies, probably don't show up for it because there's really not a lot of action. It's a character piece.
Yeah.
And
I ditto that opinion.
All right, second. And for the zombie fans out there, if you don't like Arnold, I still say give this movie a shot. I mean, I think what he does a really good job, and embrace this industry or this genre reinventing itself. I think it's what it needs, and I think it's, for the most part, I enjoy what they're doing, and I hope they keep it coming for at least a couple more years. I mean, like you guys said, he can only do it so much. And I think The Walking Dead kind of lost its phase after season 3, even though zombie fans still enjoy it, but enjoy it and also relish them bringing in like an Arnold Schwarzenegger, because that brings a whole nother audience to the ball game, and I think that's what this independent film did really well. So what I'm trying to say is, even if you don't like Arnold, I think he did great in this, and I think that this whole reinventing thing we're doing is awesome. So watch it.
Well, I'm glad you liked it, Kurt. I hope we have converted another person to go back and watch some old Arnold movies. I can't stress enough, watch a couple of his movies through the late 80s and early 90s, because at a certain point he became so big that he kind of transcended the cheesy action genre and actually made some pretty, I would say that Predator and Total Recall and especially Terminator 2 kind of transcend their genre of 80s action and go into like action, a better caliber film and stuff like that too. Not saying that there's anything wrong with 80s action. I don't know where I'm going on that one.
No, it's not just for
But I think he transcends genre borders where even people that don't like cheesy action films would enjoy those films because there's other elements to them. So definitely check that out. All right, well, I think that's going to kind of wrap up our review of Maggie. So thank you guys for doing the show with me and going over that. But let's jump into kind of a related topic. I wanted to discuss a little bit about kind of what I've already broached on Schwarzenegger's career. Jordan, this will probably be us a little more since
I think so.
Kurt doesn't know a whole lot about
Kurt will
it.
just compare Jingle All the Way to right now.
There you go. Jingle All the Way, Predator, Maggie.
How many family comedies has he been in since this?
But
I wouldn't mind that.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the box office take for Terminator, and then kind of thoughts on what I was saying earlier about where, specifically Jordan, you think that his career should go, and what you think his next move should be. As an actor. So, to go ahead and jump into it with us if you got any thoughts
jumping
on
the I saw Terminator the other week. I'm a huge Terminator fan, always have been, so I saw that, 2 times. And, as you probably know, Nick, that movie didn't do as well as we anticipated as
No, I was trying to
get
a up-to-date
because
box office take on it. I think it was about
$155 million. I think was the budget, and it. I know out of all the Terminators, it's the lowest opening weekend for a Terminator movie.
Yeah, I think it's trailing. I think the last one by a couple, like almost 30 million.
I think I saw it was third.
It may be kind of catching up a little bit. I see it's at 72 million right now. At the same point, 14 days in, Terminator Salvation was at 95 million.
Yeah.
So either one of those numbers would be an underwhelming, I think, kind of number for what they wanted from the Terminator series at this point in time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think he has another Conan movie lined up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been, it seems like his plan from the start was to kind of revive his heyday and do sequels to a lot of his
Terminator,
movies.
Conan, all that.
Yeah, do you feel like that's the way he should go, or you think he
I
should
don't
do
know.
something
I mean,
else?
I definitely, I think you had a good point when you were talking about him sort of fading into more of this secondary kind of role thing, which I think is really good because, and this is really interesting, but, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, kind of the golden age of the Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, Stallone-driven summer blockbuster, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, all right, everyone in the world is going to see this movie because these guys' names are on it. But, I mean, you don't really have that as much today. I mean, you know, we have popular actors. You know, everybody loves Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise and Johnny Depp. But it's like, I don't know, they just don't
Yeah.
have that same caliber, if that makes sense. Like, it's just something different.
Yeah, I think maybe what it is too is like the actors seem to diversify a lot more now.
Yeah.
Where it seemed like Schwarzenegger just was an action guy. I mean, other than Jason Statham, I think that actors are diversifying a bit, and this this Maggie may be an example of Schwarzenegger kind of doing that.
Kind of trying to try that out.
Yeah, himself, and trying to do something a little different. You know, step out of his comfort zone a little bit, but. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so split on it because on one side I want to see probably one of the only people that wants to see another twins movie.
Oh, triplets.
Triplets. I definitely want to see the Conan film, which I'm assuming might be dead at this point because of the take on the last. I have the feeling they were waiting to see how Terminator does before they greenlit it, but it may be hard to find backers for that movie now, being that his box office has kind of really been not very good in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see him keep doing that, but I think the only way forward at this point, I just want as much Arnold on screen as I possibly can get for the next 10 years, you know.
Yeah.
So to me, I wish that in between maybe trying to revive the Conan movies and some of his older movies, like take a co-starring role in something, you know, try to do these little movies and put it out there that, you know, for the right piece, you will not have to have a huge payday or, you know what I mean? Say that you'll come in and be that guy in Michael Bay action movies. It's just the co-star or something like that, or in other stuff. So I hope he does something like that to keep relevant and stay around for a while, but.
I agree. I think the keys for him to kind of sticking around would be taking some more of those co-starring roles, which was kind of cool to see in the newer Terminator. You know, he wasn't like the whole movie was riding on him, which is kind of interesting, but, you know, kind of to see him do that more. And I think you talked about this a little bit earlier, but I have this written down too. Just I think Schwarzenegger's key is to really surround himself with, you know, talented filmmakers or talented crew, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you think about the Terminators; those became super huge, not just because Arnold was in them, because he had James Cameron, you know, writing, directing, all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I think in his heyday, he really had a knack for picking talent and surrounding himself with like the best filmmakers.
I agree.
And I think that's something, unfortunately, that he's done very well at in his comeback here. I thought he made very good choices working with I can't remember his name right off the top of my head. The South Korean director that did the Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
Last Stand guy?
That was the director on Last Stand, and he worked with David Ayer.
Yeah, David Ayer
directed Sabotage. You know, so he's picking. I think he's making good picks and stuff like that, and picking good. I don't know about the scripts or being all that good, but I think that may be the downfall of it. But he's been picking good filmmakers to work with. So it kind of hurts for me knowing that he's making those good choices like he did in his heyday, but they're not working out for him so well.
Yeah.
So. But I think that probably should wrap up our conversation, our longing love for the Schwarzenegger of old.
Yeah.
You know,
well, there was a question of should he just retire, and I have the answer of never. So
never. Yeah.
Never.
No, I agree.
I mean,
yeah. If he keeps pumping out straight to video movies, I'll cry.
Yeah,
I will. A little bit of me will die inside. But I will keep renting them. So
I'm waiting for the day where he makes a medieval movie coming to Redbox, where he, you know you're going low when you have that. Like you're either in like a movie where you're fighting a witch, or
when
like
he's in a U-Ball film. That'll be the
like
lowest.
Dragon Hunt or Dragon Heart Quest or some kind of like.
Yeah.
You know.
I think my heart will fully die at that point.
But
you're
I'll
right.
I'll still watch it.
All right. Well, let's wrap that up and let's jump into our top 3 favorite for the week here, and we're going to talk a little bit about films where the actor took a drastic change in the genre and movie they usually are star in or kind of known for famously. So we're going to talk about big changes for actors a little bit. And let's jump right into it. Jordan, why don't you start us off with your number 3?
Okay. Well, I'm one of my favorite comedies. I'm a big fan of Tropic Thunder. I don't know how familiar we are with Tropic Thunder in this, I guess, triangle like shape of people, but I'm a big fan, and I guess I could have a few for that one. I love Robert Downey Jr. in that movie. Of course, you know, he goes a little different, playing the Australian man, playing the African American man, you know, doing that whole thing. But Tom Cruise was also in that too, which I didn't even know the first time I saw it. You know, he had the Les Grossman character where he has the big fat hands and he has the big fat suit and he's like balding and all this stuff. So I think watching that, it was kind of cool for me. It was one of those. I think that was a sign for me that an actor's doing something different enough that I was like, wait a minute.
I think that's a pretty cool choice because I think there's a lot of actors in that film that, you know, I don't think Jack Black or Ben Stiller have done action movies before.
Sure, yeah.
There's action in the movie.
It was kind of cool. It was a blend of comedy and action. But for Tom Cruise, I guess specifically, he's the one I thought of first just because he didn't, I mean, typically, you know, Mission Impossible.
I don't think he's done a comedy other than
that,
has he?
He didn't have any, and RDJ does kind of funny stuff. So, you know, he's kind of a funny guy. So I guess.
Well, that's a solid number 3 pick. Kurt,
me,
let's jump over to you for your number 3.
Mine was Will Smith and 7 Pounds. Usually I'm not a. I mean, I do enjoy Will Smith, and 7 Pounds I wouldn't say was like my favorite all-time emotional go-getter movie, but it was a real good movie, and I thought he did a pretty decent job in that. So that would be my number 3.
All right, nice pick. All right, well, my number 3 is The Bourne Identity. It was kind of. The first time that, not Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, sorry. Big difference there, but maybe, depending on what circle you're in. But first time he'd kind of jumped out of being a dramatic actor and doing more Oscar bait to doing a little more mainstream action. So it's a really fun film. It's well directed by Doug Liman, who I sorely missed in the sequels, but I thought it was fun. The fight choreography is great, and Matt Damon makes a pretty good action hero and is a pretty good lead in the film, so I thought it was a fun jump into a different genre for him. Jordan, what is your number 2?
Okay, I'm a big fan, Nick. I think we've discussed this before. Now, bear with me. Am I allowed to swear if it's in the title? This is Kick Butt 2.
Okay.
I don't know. I know this. It wasn't the best film ever, but out of the film, I really enjoyed Jim Carrey as Colonel Stars and Stripes in that movie. Now, that was something that really stuck out to me because I didn't think the whole movie was great, but it was one of those things where, like, every time Jim Carrey was on screen, you know, I was really involved and really like, ooh, I want to see more of this guy.
I agree.
I thought he did an amazing job in that movie.
Yeah, it was a cool addition to that film.
Yeah, he definitely brought a really cool angle and element to that. I really enjoyed that a lot.
That's
awesome. All right, Kurt, your number 2.
My number 2 is Robert Downey Jr. and The Judge.
Ooh,
I really enjoyed the film. And normally we think of Robert Downey Jr. as, you know, Iron Man now. I mean, I know he did stuff before that, but I mean in today's world we think of him as Iron Man, you know, kind of cocky and whatever. And to see him be, I mean, he is kind of down to earth as Iron Man at times, but to see him in this film, The Judge, was kind of I really enjoyed it, and I think that was one he did well in.
Awesome. All right, my number 2 is the Sylvester Stallone movie Copland, which was kind of a return to form for him after a string of action films in the 90s. He kind of went back to a crime drama, and it was kind of a fun movie where he got to jump from, you know, being known as this muscle-bound action hero for years, going back to his roots and playing this kind of almost a little bit slow character, and it was also it had really good action elements to it, so if you still like action films, it's got that, but it was more of a character piece for Stallone, and he actually, you know, gained 30 pounds for it and everything, too. It's a very fun movie.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, it's great. It's got a good dramatic cast. You know, it's got De Niro's in it. It's got, I think it was 1990,
was it 90? Okay.
Sometime between 96 and 98.
Something like that.
Late 90s after he kind of had a run of action films there for a while, but, you know, it's got Ray Liotta and De Niro and a bunch of, you know, so it's a little more of a dramatic film, and I call it violent drama because it's kind of like it's almost like a mob movie only with cops instead of the mob, but fun film. So, number 1. Jordan, what do you got for us?
I hesitate to jump forward. I want to pass it on to Kurt first. I want Kurt to go first.
All right, I'll go
I don't want to be the
this
first
is
one
unprecedented.
to break. I don't want to break the first number 1.
Okay, number 1 for me is Robin Williams, but not in Dead Poet Society or Good Will Hunting, The Fisher King. I don't know if you guys have seen that or not, but that's one of my favorite dramatic actions by him.
Yeah.
And it's about a man who pretty much loses everything in his sanity. And I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but he does an awesome job of a man who's lost it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed the film in general. I mean, he's also good in Dead Poet Society and Good Will Hunting. I'm not taking that
I'll have
away.
to look up and see which one of those
But
are first, because
I believe Dead Poet
I
Society
think Dead Poet Society is before
Is-
Good Will
Is it?
Hunting.
is yes.
no, before the
Oh,
Fisher King, but
Fisher King.
Oh, the Fisher King.
I'm not familiar with that one. So
yeah, it's a
I
Terry
believe-
Gilliam film. It's got the Jeff Bridges in it too, and it was kind of. I remember when it was released, and that's what I was thinking because I remember watching it as a kid and thinking, "Ooh, a Robin Williams movie," and it's a really stark, kind of
weird, very
very weird film,
It's
and
very
I remember
weird.
like, what is going on here? What
Yeah.
happened to Robin Williams? So I feel like that's almost the first time that I saw him in a dramatic role, but I'll have to look up the dates on that and see.
I think
That's
it's
interesting, but
late
good pick.
90s, but I really
pick.
enjoyed it, and I just think that was one of his better ones in a dramatic. Not saying his other ones weren't good too, but
Yeah.
obviously when we think of Robin Williams, like you said, as kids, we think of him as a crazy comedian.
Right.
Never see him in a role like that, and that's why he's my number one in that.
Yeah, good
wow,
pick.
fair.
All right, Jordan, you ready for it yet? Do you still think you're going to break the top three?
Ooh, I don't know if I can.
He's got special
Can't
guest
be any
rules.
worse than the time we did fight scenes and John named 3 battle scenes. or
Yes,
something
another
from war
John
movies.
stab.
What? I don't.
Gosh.
Man, I might have been gone for that
Yeah,
day.
you should have been there. Somebody
Um,
saved me on that one.
Well, let me think. It's I'm a sucker for Christopher Lloyd. I
Okay.
loved him in most of his movies.
Mm-hmm.
He was great in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Now say what you will.
Yep.
Say what you will. But for Christopher Lloyd just as a kid I was so scared of him. Like he's so scary in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just because I knew him as kind of lovable. Doc
That's true.
Brown.
That's a good
That's
point.
who
I
I
never
like.
thought of that.
And it's a little goofy to say that, but it's either him or Michael Jordan in Space Jam. It's a close one.
That's probably the biggest genre jump of all
That
time.
is
from
the
So,
biggest genre
basketball to cartoon movies.
I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, it's tough. It's close. But who says cartoon movies can't bring a lot of punch?
That's true. All right, I think that's a good pick as well. So,
All right.
my number one. Oh, and I would have also accepted when you were going down that road, Star Trek 3, because he also
Okay.
plays the villain in Star Trek. He
Okay,
plays
yeah,
a Klingon
yeah.
villain
yeah,
in
that's
Star
true.
Trek 3.
Yeah, he is. I
Like
thought
the
of
weirdest role for him ever.
Yeah, I thought of a few as I was going on about that. But
All right, my number one is Stranger Than Fiction with Will Ferrell.
okay,
And,
yeah.
Honorable mention for me, yeah.
Honorable
Yeah,
mention.
This is
a
one
good
of my
point.
favorite movies of all time. I'd put it up there very high. I love this movie. I think it's very rewatchable. I can watch it a million times, but it stuck out to me for this top 3 because it's a film where Will Ferrell, it was one of the first times I think that Will Ferrell had kind of gone from doing the screwball comedy that he's known for
Oh,
doing,
yeah.
playing more of the straight guy in this. This is still a
Yeah.
funny film. I think there's a lot of funny moments in the film, but it's mostly kind of a dramedy, and Will Ferrell plays it straight, so that's why that was my pick for that. But it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Really, Nick?
Yeah,
Favorite movies of all
absolutely.
time.
Love the love plot between him and Gyllenhaal, Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Wow.
I think is so dynamic. Like that was a movie where I don't like Maggie Gyllenhaal for some reason. She's always rubbed me wrong, but in that film, you fall in love with her.
Wow.
Along with the character, so I thought that was quite admirable of the writer and director to be able to pull you through that journey. Plus, you guys don't get that; it almost pulls me to tears
Thank
at
you.
the end.
I haven't
He
seen it.
sacrif-
I haven't
you know?
seen it. I
Oh,
haven't
sorry.
We have done 22
Whoa.
ruined it.
episodes of this.
Spoiler
and
alert.
Nick has dropped one of his favorite movies in 22 episodes of the Quantum Guys. Nick has
Oh, I'm
dropped.
pretty sure that Aliens has come up about 12
That's
million
a very
times.
good point.
so-
But I'm
to
talking
the point
about
that I've
this
stopped mentioning
other than
it.
action. There we go. Other than action.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I think that
Wow.
is our top 3. I think those were pretty
Okay.
good lists. So if you haven't seen any of those movies, check them out. But
All right.
all right. Well, that's going to wrap us up here on the Quadcast today. So look for our next review, possibly next week. But we have a special guest on that one, Levi Tarbell, that we're hoping to get on. So he may not be available. So maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. We may be a little
he
late
said
on
he
that.
would be down for the following week if we still
He's
wanted
our resident Marvel expert,
Ooh,
so
yeah,
he's
okay.
coming on for Ant-Man.
Also Mission
I'd also like to
Impossible.
Jordan
challenge
is,
that position, but
Jordan's welcome to
see.
come back for that one too. And then the only movie I have left in the summer that I'm really looking forward to is Mission Impossible.
Shocker.
We're not doing a hard-hitting review on Minions. I thought.
Oh no,
even though John wanted to, no.
No,
we axed
I
that
heard that's
one.
going to be an Oscar contender this year.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
It did look funny.
It does look funny. Yeah, I
But,
love those Minions. But.
If you want to see more of our work, you can go to NickGuyHarris on YouTube.
All
one word.
One word.
But if you can't find it under that, it's kind of weird sometimes. Just look up the Quantum Quadcast and you'll find it.
You'll
You can
definitely
link
find
back to my page from there. Check out some other reviews we've got that are pretty good. We've got some subversive ones apparently with the Mad Max one's got a few legs of its own, so check it out. But other shows on there and a lot of good content you can check out. So that is all for us this week. So Kurt, thanks for being on the show as always, and Jordan, thank you very much for guest starring. It's good to have you back.
I'll be back.
Hopefully you'll be back. Yeah.
Like
Arnold.
We'll get you back. Oh, be
Like
back.
Arnold. There it is.
All right. Well,
Everybody
that's it
have
for us. Let's put a fork in it.
It's done.